prayer, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. Our Father, who art in heaven, as a body we congregate in this council chambers for the betterment of our fellow citizens. Lead us that we may do all things well. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Morton?
Present.
Mr. Stuchel?
Present.
Mr. Edwards?
Present.
Ms. Hausfeld? Here. Mr. Schildmeyer?
Present.
Mr. Culbertson?
Present.
And Mr. Estep?
Present.
Let the record show that all 7 members are present. At this time, we will suspend with the regular order of business. We have a guest here this evening. We have Denise Driehaus, Hamilton County Commissioner, and she is going to give us an update on the county, I believe.
Thank you for the opportunity to present to the council. I'm very grateful for that. Some of you were here. I know some of you were here. When I was here last in 2017, when I was first elected to the county commission, I did what I was calling my 49 and 49. So there are 49 jurisdictions in Hamilton County. I tried to go visit in 49 days. It did not work out. It was more like 49 weeks because come to find out everybody meets at the same time. And so I had to really juggle around a little bit. But the idea was to introduce myself, get to know other people, hang out a little bit and listen to what the issues are, but just try to start to create a partnership and a relationship amongst county officials and what we do and local electeds throughout the county to get more familiar with what you do and more familiar with you as individuals. And so at that time, I didn't have a lot to report on the county because I was brand new. I'm happy to report now, though, that we have a structurally balanced budget at the county. I could not have said that in 2017. I can say it now. I'm delighted to report it. And the reason that matters is because when we are structurally balanced, we are able to recruit and retain employees at the county. Those are people like the deputies in the jail. It's the folks that work in the courthouse. It's the individuals that work for JFS and keep kids safely in their homes or remove those children if need be. It's the call takers at 911. I mean, you know, these are really important positions, and I know your residents are counting on us to do a good job of it. And so we took that seriously back when I got elected, which has been a number of years ago now. And we have been able to do that, pay people a better salary, give them raises every year, and create some policies like our parental leave policy that, again, has helped us recruit people into the organization. So happy to report that. At that time, I also gave you my menu of opportunity, which I have given to you again. We have expanded the menu since I was here last. And so it gives you an idea of some of the partnership opportunities between local jurisdictions and the county. You all are taking advantage of some of these already, and it's really interesting to go to all the communities throughout the county because all of them behave very differently, but this is the options that are available amongst some of them. And then my contact information, along with my colleagues, is on the back. So if you ever need to contact me, please feel free. So just very quickly, related to some of the work of the county, I'm happy to answer questions if you have them related to some of the big stuff like Convention Center and the Bengals lease and, you know, some of the fun stuff that we get to deal with at the county. But I really wanted to talk about the partnership piece because St. Bernard, and I don't know who writes the grants for your organization, but you have done a pretty nice job of accessing dollars that have been made available at the county level. And so I just wanted to list those out, and kudos to you. The partnership only works when we're both interacting with one another, right? So in 21, 22, and 23, St. Bernard received the Residential Recycling Incentive Program dollars, and then you got one of the Community Revitalization Grants. So this project, or this program, was started 3 years ago. Again, it was only because we had some increased revenue that we could not only stabilize the county workforce, but also do a little bit by way of economic development in the jurisdictions. So we have set aside, it's about $2.5 million. It fluctuates a little bit, to catalyze projects in communities that are already underway, or you're already thinking about it. You all know better than I do what are catalytic projects in St. Bernard. And so we made this grant available. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars, so it's a substantial amount of money. It's a very competitive grant. And so if you got one, you made a good case for the project that you got it for. And I'm happy to announce that you all had one in 2023. It was the demolition to allow for the new residential and commercial use, or commercial space. I don't know where that is. Shopping center, okay, well, so I just saw that on my way in. So that was $339,000. So all told, you received $376,000 from the county, and you're partnering us, with us in different ways, fire hydrant maintenance and some other things. So I didn't time it like this, but it so happens that a couple of days ago, we had a meeting related to our next round of community revitalization grants. It's an annual grant, and you all are on the list. We had quite a few projects. We were way oversubscribed for this grant round. This is only a recommendation. It has not been voted on by the county commissioners. I want to be very clear. But you had a project that was recommended by staff for the St. Bernard Square pre-development costs. You asked for $300,000. The recommendation was $200,000. So, I mean, better than nothing, I say. But it's really interesting because not many jurisdictions are getting these grants year after year, and you are one of them. So I do want to thank you for the partnership, applaud what you're doing here in St. Bernard. We are happy to be in partnership with you to catalyze some of the economic development projects that you have going on here. So that's really my message. Thank you for the partnership. One other thing let me touch on, because I think it'll be important to your organization. We take law and public safety very seriously, as you may know, at the county. And so I don't know if any of you have been to the 911 center. I mean, these are really critical call takers that take those emergency calls when people are having a very bad day. And if you had ever been in that facility, it's rather dark. The technology is not great, which isn't great for that kind of call center. There was no break room for these individuals who were taking very stressful calls and oftentimes needed to just step back for a minute and take a breath after they had received one of these calls. And then we've got our EMA, our Emergency Management Agency, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, that is located in Price Hill, and they're outgrowing their space. And so we're renovating a space and putting EMA and the 911 call center together. There's a lot of synergy between these groups, and so it's not a new build, it's just a renovation of a building, but it's bigger, the technology is better, and it really does dignify the work of the call takers. It's very hard to recruit these folks because it's a high-stress job. And we were hearing from Andy Knapp, our director. Part of it was the facility, and so we took that to heart and are putting them in a much lighter facility with a break room, a place to eat lunch, a place to decompress. And so I think it will help us as we continue to try to recruit folks not only into the 911 call center, but also into the Emergency Management Agency. So something I'm really proud of and something I thought you might be interested in. So that's all I have. Thank you for the opportunity again. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have if they're easy enough. But I'm really grateful for the opportunity to speak to the group. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone on council have any questions? Nope.
Okay.
We appreciate your
Thank
time.
you. I'll be back
Thank you.
in a few years.
All right.
Thank you.
We'll be here. Well, some of us will.
If all goes well.
Some of us won't. Okay. Sorry, I forgot about that. All right, at this time, while we're kind of off the beaten path here, I did forget about the auditor's public hearing for the 2025 budget, correct? All right.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the public hearing for the 2025 tax budget of the Village of St. Bernard. This budget will be submitted to Hamilton County for review and action. The 2025 tax budget reflects the village's general fund, which is the basic operation fund of the village. The estimated revenue for 2025 is as following. For the village's earned income tax, $13 million. Expected general fund receipts from property taxes, $1,100,000, for a total tax receipts of $14,100,000. Estimated revenue from state and county from revenue sharing and certain taxes and permits, $221,200. Other expected revenue for the Village of St. Bernard comes from charges for services for $675,000. Fines, local licenses and permits, $150,000, and miscellaneous revenues, $500,000. This brings an estimated general fund revenue for 2025 to $15,646,200. The expenditure estimated for 2025 is as follows. Within each class of expenditures in the tax budget, estimated costs are itemized for personnel, contractual services, supplies and materials, and equipment or capital outlay. The classifications are as follows. Security of persons and properties, which would be our police and fire departments, the budgets will be $5,844,550. For public health services, which is what we do through the county, it is $6,400. Leisure time activities, which is our parks and recreation, $338,500. Basic utility services, which is our service department, $1,640,850. Transportation, which is our dial-a-ride senior transportation, is $37,000, and general government, $2,665,550. This brings, and then with the transfer to the general fund from the other funds, which, for example, are our streets fund, swimming pool, debt service, master plan, and employee health plan, is $4,774,984. Total expected general fund expenditures for 2025, $15,307,834, which gives us a surplus of $338,366. This will be submitted to the county tonight, and then they will have a meeting, and if and when they approve it, I will set up a resolution, which is usually in September, October, for council to vote on. Are there any questions?
Anyone?
Then that concludes the public hearing.
Anyone in the audience have any questions?
Mr. President, the only question I had is, I know in the Finance Committee, we've been talking about new equipment that we need. Is that part of that budget? or
No,
does
this
that
is
come
for
out separate?
2025. This is just a projected budget. Basically, it's to get us thinking about the budget for next year. So the county kind of wants to see what we think we're going to be doing next year. So this is just projected, and no, that is not any of
All right,
this.
thanks, Peggy.
Okay.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll go back to the regular order of business. Members of council, what is your pleasure on the reading of the minutes of the last meeting?
Mr. President,
Mr. Schultmeyer?
I make a motion to accept the minutes as read.
I'll second that, Mr. President.
Motion by Mr. Schultmeyer, seconded by Ms. Hausfeld to approve the minutes of the last meeting. Are there any remarks? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So ordered. Members of council, are there any errors or corrections to the minutes as submitted? If not, the minutes will stand as submitted. We'll move to reports of city officials. Mayor, Mr. Stuchel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd first like to start by thanking Tom Paul for his service to the village as the Safety Service Director. Tom has been serving in this capacity and is in his 9th year of serving the citizens of St. Bernard. He was originally appointed by Mayor John Estep and continued during my tenure as mayor. Tom has been a loyal and dedicated part of my administration, and I truly appreciate his dedication and friendship. He will be missed, but he has left a good foundation for Tim Wordman to assume the reins. As you all have seen, there is major work that is being performed on Vine Street in Burtis. Full-depth repairs will continue through July 1st. Milling on Burtis will be done the week of July 8th, and milling on Vine will be done the week of July 15th. Along with the paving on Burtis and then paving on Vine, July 15th through 22nd. Curb repair on Burtis will also start immediately, and then the final round of work on Vine will be the thermoplast crosswalks and speed cushions near the St. Clement crosswalk will be installed. Upcoming work on other streets is being scheduled, which could carry over into 2025. Thank you to everyone that showed up to our first concert of the season last Saturday. Tone Yard rocked out in the pavilion, and they were great. We look forward to having them back in the future. Don't miss the upcoming Independence Day celebration in the village on July 6th at Vine Street Park. We'll start the afternoon with open pickleball play from 3 to 5 p.m., and we'll then have open cornhole and bowling the remainder of the day that is open to anyone who wishes to play. The remains will be playing from 6 to 9:45 p.m., leading up to the much-anticipated fireworks. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Auditor, Ms. Brickwick.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also wanted to thank Tommy for our 9 years working together. I will miss our morning chats. As part of my report, the first thing I wanted to just announce, you might be seeing something different in your paychecks starting in July. I don't know what the effect of this is going to be, but the state of Ohio has changed their tax tables. It might not be much, but some of my employees, if they see it like a penny different, are going to ask why. So that's what I made the changes, and they won't be till the next paycheck, but it doesn't look like it's going to be a big thing, but I did want everybody to know that. I also emailed out ordinance 18/2024 with some changes in it today to council. What this ordinance is for, it's a transfer of funds, $700,000 from the general fund, with $100,000 going to the master plan account and $600,000 going to the capital improvement cash account. It also has additional appropriations to the following: General Fund 012-8C. I'm sorry, it looks like it's missing an O, if you want to put that in the ordinance. Mine is, at least. It's 208C. City Hall maintenance, this is for $10,000. It's to clean out the air ducts, especially since the school was demolished. There was a lot of stuff in the air, and we want to get the ducts cleaned out. 018A2 Safety Center for $50,000. What this is for, the majority of this is for mold restoration. As you've known in the past, we've had plenty of problems with the roof leaking down there, and now we have mold. So that is what that is for. And 05 MP9 Streets and Sewers for $128,000. This is for a reimbursement grant, which we received with the county, so I have to go ahead and pay for the road work, and then the county reimburses me, so it's just appropriating the money, which will then go back into the general fund. Are there any questions? That concludes my report.
Thank you. Director of Law, Ms. Van Valkenburg.
Thank you. You have before you tonight ordinance number 19, which was the, came out of laws, contracts, and claims. It's the codified ordinance regarding councilperson attendance at meetings, salary reduction, vacation of office, and declaring an emergency. I was asked at the last meeting at the Committee of the Whole just to have it go regular course as opposed to emergency, so that's the only change that you would have received from the version you had at the Committee of the Whole. We also have before you ordinance number 20, also is coming out of laws, contracts, and claims, amending section 90503 regarding weed and litter, and it deals with noxious weeds and invasive species. There is one small change that I made from what you saw at Committee of the Whole. One of our diligent and sharp-eyed citizens noted that I had inadvertently forgotten to add the words and invasive species. If you look at 90503, second sentence, it says all prohibited noxious weeds, and I added and invasive species shall be prohibited, so that it's consistent with F2, where I also named both of those. That's the only change from what you had before you at Committee of the Whole. Then at Committee of the Whole, Mr. Schildmeyer reminded me that we had discussed at laws, contracts, and claims the possibility of providing for a mechanism for somebody who has had problems with keeping their weeds and their grass within acceptable boundaries, and the possibility of providing for a hearing on that issue with regards to whether or not we are charging them. It wouldn't apply to our decision to go in and remediate the situation if the owner doesn't do it. And so I have prepared changes to 90505 in ordinance number 21 to address that issue. What I did was, we currently have in existence 90505A, which is I added a title, abatement, and assessment, or a heading. But other than that, there were no changes to what is in the existing section A. What I added was now under B, appeal. And that's all new language. That's the proposed procedure that I came up with. We discussed the idea briefly at Committee of the Whole, laws, contracts, and claims, but there was no substantive discussion. But I thought this would cover what I thought I heard coming out of the Committee of the Whole. So that is all new language in B. Now, section C, lien upon property, was what was section B. And then section D, collection, it was our current section C. So really, changed the, just the designation of C and D for the last two paragraphs, last two sections, but B is brand new. And basically that gives, I think the issue arose because we had at least one person who generally keeps his lawn very, very tidy, and I guess had some issues with it this year because of some health concerns. I don't know if that's what generated that was part of the discussion. I don't know if there were other issues, but there were concerns that maybe there would be people that, just had something come up who are generally in compliance, but it just would be a way for them to maybe approach council and ask for some leniency with regards to the amount being charged, but not the ability of the village, does not affect the ability of the village to go ahead and remediate. So those are the three I've prepared and would like you to look at this evening, on the table this evening. I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Mr. President,
Mr. Schulmeyer.
the only question I had is, I know in committee, we talked about the appeal process going to the new Safety Service Director position.
Well, my concern was, since the Safety Service Director is kind of the person who is in charge of this anyway and designating it, I'm not sure how much an appeal to that same person would really constitute an appeal. I'm happy to go back and change it if that's the way you want it, as opposed to, I had made it to council just because that was, like I said, it's almost like you have the person that's making that decision hearing the appeal, and I just wasn't sure that made a lot of sense. But if you want it handled that way, I'm happy to reword it.
Mr. President,
Mr. Schulmeyer.
I actually like the way you did it better, but I wanted to point it out since it is different than what we said in the minutes of the committee meeting, and make sure everyone else knew that.
Any other questions?
Mr. President,
Mr. Moore, go ahead.
my only question is, and I know that we briefly talked about this, in section, what was it, 905.04, there was that triple negative that almost made this not enforceable. Does that need to be fixed with this, or is that something that we can do separately? Just for other folks, there's a section in 905.04 where it says that no owner shall fail to refuse to comply, and because there's a triple negative, it kind of says you must refuse to comply. So we would likely need to fix that, I'm
Yes.
assuming.
I can do that separately and have that for you at the committee of the whole. That would probably, rather than amend this one, I'll prepare that for next meeting. Thank you.
Any other questions of Valerie? If I'm reading these correctly, 20 and 21 have no emergency clause in them?
Actually, I believe 19, 20, and 21, because I think the consensus was because these were rather new and novel, that the consensus was that we wanted those to go regular course so the public would have an opportunity to discuss, because these are very new
My
issues.
19 still has emergency, but if there's a motion to go
Oh.
regular course, it'll,
Okay,
It'll
I'm
go-
sorry, I
that's all right.
thought that was. I thought I had sent that to Heidi. I thought I'd made that change, because that was what we had discussed at the last meeting. Well, I mean, obviously, you can choose not to go emergency. Yeah, it's not a big deal.
I just wanted to make sure.
My apologies. I thought I'd sent that to Heidi. Maybe there was a confusion between myself and Heidi.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I think that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Treasurer, Mr. Ungrue.
Thank you, Mr. President. This evening, we have our statement from Star Ohio. The funds at the state's level as of the end of May totaled $12,291,382. And that concludes my report. Copies have been given to the clerk and to the council. Thank you.
Thank you. Safety and Service Director, for the last time, Mr. Paul.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is my last council meeting. Those of you who know me realize that I am not political. I did these assignments out of caring for the village. As I have worked with Jonathan Stuchel these past years, I have realized that he truly cares for the village, not just as a whole, but as the individuals who make up this place of ours. He listens to everyone. He has proven his worth. Jonathan, please don't feel uncomfortable because I truly feel this way. I leave you with a lot of construction going on, but to me, that is a sign of improvements, and that will continue, I am sure. The time has come for me to step aside. I am in my 9th year here at City Hall. As you know, council passed an ordinance for my replacement. I prolonged my leaving for this position until my replacement could be found. This person will start July the 1st, 2024. I could not be more at ease with the person who was chosen to further the village progress. My only wishful thought is that he will learn to care for the village and its people with the utmost respect and sincerity. My last reminder for you is that 4th of July falls on a Thursday, which means that your trash pickup will be on Wednesday the 3rd of July. And now to my community. Over the years, I would always address my community with heartfelt lessons, humor, and emotional outlooks. I leave you with the summation of these lessons. You must find laughter every day. To grow well-balanced, you must address 4 major aspects: intellectual, emotional, spiritual, and physical. You may not realize you are already doing this daily, but bringing a conscious effort to these aspects keeps depression at bay. Yes, I am giggling myself. That physical can be tricky. Try lying down twice. Okay, you must sit quietly and find peace. You certainly must declutter the mind. Be absolute that the pathway from heart to mind is unimpeded. There are a lot of things that are truly not overwhelmingly important. Even under the most stressful situations, search for humor. If nothing else, it will take your mind off the pressing issues. At last, I close with this. I have 4 years as a hospital corpsman in the Navy. As a firefighter paramedic in the village of St. Bernard, I served 31 years. And finally ending my career in public service with 8 years, 6 months as Director of Public Safety and Service. This was all helping people. What have I learned? The happiest people are the ones who accept and do not judge, but rather live life. Simply said, they just love. That concludes my report.
Thank you. The tax administrator's report will be given by the clerk of council. Sorry.
Tonight, reading for the tax administrator, I have May 2024 end-of-month receipts. Tax collections for May 2024 were $630,924. May 2024 is down 6.69%, or $45,268 from May 2023. Refunds for May were $152,827.60. Delinquent tax collected with capital recovery was $432.12. Delinquent tax collected with Ohio Attorney General's Office was $87,421.36. And that concludes her report.
Thank you. We'll move to reports of standing committees. Finance, Mr. Morton.
Thank you, Mr. President. The next Finance Committee meeting has been scheduled for July 2nd at 6 p.m. in Council Chambers. We will be discussing financing options for the much-needed fire truck purchase as well as other street improvement projects. I would also like to remind folks of July's Community Connect on July 11th from 5:30 to 6:30 in the lower level of City Hall. I encourage attendees to also stay for the Committee of the Whole meeting to follow directly after at 7 p.m. Additionally, I'm happy to share that I was invited by Columbus City Council President Shannon Hardin to join him and other LGBTQIA+ leaders from around the state to discuss various strategies to uplift our LGBTQIA+ residents, such as resource guidance and non-discrimination ordinances. It was a privilege to meet with these leaders, and I'm excited for the positive impact that these conversations are going to bring around the state. Thank you, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Service, Mr. Stuchel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have the waste collection fees for the month of May 2024. $25,356.68 was remitted to the village. The service department will be closed on Thursday, July 4th in observance of Independence Day. Trash collection for that week will be as followed. Trash collection for Monday and Tuesday will remain unchanged. Trash and recycling collection for Thursday will be shifted to Wednesday. Then trash and recycling collection for Friday will remain unchanged. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Public improvements, Mr. Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. President. There was no need for a Public Improvement Committee meeting this month, but I would like to say how enjoyable and informative the St. Bernard Ludlow Grove program was this month. Kay Phillips presented a fascinating program on the old Railroad Avenue neighborhood. I've lived in St. Bernard my whole life, but had no idea the history of that area. Thank you, Kay, for your efforts preserving our rich history. The Ludlow Grove Grove meeting is every third Monday of the month at 7 p.m. in the main hall of the municipal building. I urge everyone to attend. And also, our public library is inviting everyone to attend a community plant swap at the library on Saturday, July 6th from 3 to 5 p.m. Bring any plants, cuttings, plant tools, old pots, seeds, bulbs to swap for something new. Our library wants to be a bigger resource to our community. Any ideas for new programs that would benefit our citizens, please contact me or Kate Krause at the library. She's very helpful and has volunteered to speak at our council meeting to inform our citizens of every resource our library has available. And I'd also like to thank Tommy Paul for his service to our community. Everybody loves Tommy, and he's been a pleasure to be around the short time that I've been on council. So thank you, Mr. President. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Safety, Ms. Hausfeld.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tonight I have the St. Bernard Fire Department report for the month of May 2024. Fire incidents, structure fires 7, other fires 2, vehicle fires 1, auto accidents 9, hazmat incidents 1, service calls 2, fire alarms 12, EMS assistance 15 for a total of 49. Fire mutual aid given, Elmwood Place 3, Norwood 2, Laughlin 1, Woodland 1, Mount Healthy 1, and Delhi 1. Mutual aid received from Norwood 1, Reading 1, Laughlin 1, and Wyoming 1. EMS incidents, transports 54, non-transports 47 for a total of 101. Mutual aid given, Norwood 3, Green Township 1. Mutual aid received, Laughlin 1. And then they also, all units completed the critical decision-making training, engineer operations, and auto extradition training as well. And I too want to thank Tommy Paul for everything that he has done for the city and things that he has helped me with over the years. And just being a friend, I really appreciate everything, Tommy. Thank you.
Thank you. Laws, contracts, and claims, Mr. Schultmeier.
The next Laws, Contracts, and Claims meeting has been set for the 24th of July at 7 p.m. in council chambers. On the agenda will be short and long-term rental programs. I appreciate everybody's work on the 3 that we have up right now. It took a while to get to this point. I'd also like to just finish by thanking Tommy for what I didn't realize was 40 years, basically, of service. That's amazing. I've enjoyed the last 4 or 5 working with you, Tommy. I appreciate it. That's concludes my report.
Thank you. Marketing, Mr. Culbertson.
Thanks, Mr. President. Please mark your calendars for the following village events. Wednesday, July 3rd will be Adult Night at the Aquatic Center. Saturday, July 20th, there will be a concert in the pavilion featuring Dangerous Jim and the Slims. Friday, July 26th, will be Family Night at the Aquatic Center. The next We Thrive meeting will take place on Tuesday, July 9th at 7 p.m. in the main level of the municipal building. And like everyone else, I'd like to thank Tom Paul for all of his 40-plus years of service to the village. And I'd also like to thank Denise Treehouse for taking the time to come out and speak with us tonight. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Business and industry, Mr. Estep.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report for business and industry, but I did attend a luncheon today for Prosecutor Melissa Powers. I was very impressed with some of the initiatives she's implemented and some of the hardships she's had to overcome. And again, thank you, Ms. Treehouse, for attending tonight. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Committee of the Whole, Ms. Stegman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Minutes were submitted Tuesday, the 25th, and I have no communications this evening.
Thank you. If there are no communications, if you could give the first reading of ordinance number 18, 2024.
Mr. President, I'm sorry, will you add the O to that before you have your first reading?
Is it
General Fund 012-O-8C. Yeah, I forgot the O. Thank you.
Now you may proceed.
Ordinance number 18, 2024, authorizing and directing the auditor to transfer funds and provide additional appropriations and declaring an emergency.
Members of council, you've heard the first reading of ordinance number 18, 2024. What is your pleasure?
Mr. President,
Mr. Schultmeyer.
make a motion to dispense, or I'm sorry, make a motion to suspend with the second and third reading of ordinance number 18.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Schultmeyer, seconded by Mr. Estep, to suspend with the second and third reading ordinance number 18, 2024. Are there any remarks? If not, is there anyone in the audience wishing to address council on ordinance 18, 2024? If not, clerk, will you call the roll on suspension?
Mr. Morton?
Aye.
Mr. Stuchel?
Aye.
Mr. Edwards?
Aye.
Ms.
Uh,
Hausfeld?
Aye.
Mr. Schildmeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Culbertson?
Aye.
And Mr. Estep?
Aye.
7 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Members of council, what is your pleasure on adoption?
Mr. President,
Mr. Schultmeyer.
make a motion, we adopt ordinance number 18, 2024.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Schultmeyer, seconded by Mr. Estep, to adopt ordinance 18, 2024. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Morton?
Aye.
Mr. Stuchel?
Aye.
Mr. Edwards?
Aye.
Ms. Hausfeld?
Aye.
Mr. Schildmeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Culbertson?
Aye.
And Mr. Estep?
Aye.
7 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Ordinance number 18, 2024 is adopted as read. Clerk, will you please give the first reading of ordinance number 19, 2024?
Ordinance number 19, 2024, amending section 121-01 of the St. Bernard Codified Ordinances regarding council person attendance at meetings, salary reduction, vacation of office, and declaring an emergency.
Members of council, you've heard the first reading of ordinance number 19, 2024. What is your pleasure?
Mr. President,
Mr. Schultmeyer.
I'd like to make a motion that we allow ordinance number 19 to go regular course with the correction at the top, not declaring an emergency.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Schultmeyer, second by Mr. Estep, to allow ordinance number 19, 2024 to go its regular course. Are there any remarks? If not, is there anyone in the audience wishing to address council on ordinance 19? If not, clerk, will you call the roll on the motion to go regular course?
Mr. Morton?
Aye.
Mr. Stuchel?
Aye.
Mr. Edwards?
Aye.
Ms. Hausfeld?
Aye.
Mr. Schildmeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Culbertson?
Aye.
And Mr. Estep?
Aye.
Sorry about that. 7 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Ordinance number 19, 2024 will go its regular course. Clerk, will you please give the first reading of ordinance number 20, 2024?
Ordinance number 20, 2024, amending section 905.03 of the St. Bernard Codified Ordinances regarding weed and litter removal.
Members of council, you've heard the first reading of ordinance number 20, 2024. What is your pleasure?
Mr. President,
Mr. Schultmeyer.
I'd like to make a motion to allow ordinance number 20 to go regular course.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Schultmeyer, seconded by Mr. Estep, for ordinance number 20, 2024 to go regular course. Are there any remarks? If not, is there anyone in the audience wishing to address council on ordinance 20? Please state your name and address for the record.
Nicole Klungel, 551 Church Street. Congrats, TP. I wanted to thank the Laws, Contracts, and Claims Committee and Council in general for putting this ordinance forward and not making me plow under my front yard. Thank you. I'm also wondering, since this will go regular course, is this the ordinance with the triple negative? Okay.
That's going to be discussed at committee of the whole.
Mr. President, I think what we said is we'll actually have to do a ordinance number 22 to fix that, because it's actually in neither one of these two sections. So we will fix that.
Can it be amended on first reading?
I don't believe it's actually in any of these. So we'll have to have
Oh,
a whole
it's-
new ordinance.
okay.
But we can probably do that one emergency, because, yeah, it's not in either
Oh,
one
I
of
see,
these
I
two.
see. Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to address council? If not, clerk, will you call the motion to have ordinance number 2024 go regular course?
Mr. Morton?
Aye.
Mr. Stuchel?
Aye.
Mr. Edwards?
Aye.
Ms. Hausfeld?
Aye.
Mr. Schildmeyer?
Aye.
Mr. Culbertson?
Aye.
And Mr. Estep?
Aye.
7 ayes, no nays. Motion carries. Ordinance number 20, 2024 will go its regular course. Clerk, will you please give the first reading of ordinance number 21, 2024?
Ordinance number 21, 2024, amending section 905.05 of the St. Bernard Codified Ordinances regarding weed and litter removal.
Members of council, you've heard the first reading of ordinance number 21, 2024. What is your pleasure?
Mr. President,
Mr. Schultmeyer.
I'd like to make a motion that we allow ordinance number 21, 2024 to go regular course as well.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Schultmeyer, seconded by Mr. Estep, to allow ordinance number 21, 2024 to go regular course. Are there any remarks? Not, is there anyone in the audience wishing to address council on ordinance 21? Not, clerk, will you please call the roll to go regular course?
Mr. Morton?
Aye.
Mr. Stuchel?
Aye.
Mr. Edwards?
Aye.
Ms. Hausfeld?
Aye.
Mr. Schultmeyer? Mr. Culbertson?
Aye.
And Mr. Estep?
Aye.
7 ayes, no nays, motion carries. Ordinance number 21, 2024 will also go regular course. At this time, does anyone on council have anything under old business? Does anyone on council have anything under new business?
Mr. President,
Mr. Morton.
I've been getting a lot of concern residents about I guess the vagueness of our, what's the word I'm looking for? In a sense, people are driving down the streets, blaring music to the point where it's shaking windows. A noise ordinance, that's what I'm trying to say. I was wondering if it would be best just to go through law director, or if we should assign it to the Laws, Contracts, and Claims Committee to investigate, but I think we could use some.
We actually have
We have
a loud
Oh,
noise
yeah.
ordinance. It's actually posted on some of the poles, so it's just a question of enforcement.
Yeah, there's a bit of vagueness to it because it details certain times of day. So I think it would be worth investigating, making it a bit more specific. So I guess with that formal course, a motion to commit it to the Laws, Contracts, and Claims Committee.
Mr. President, I'd be happy to add it to our agenda for the next meeting. And also, I guess, since I'm talking, we'll add the triple negative to that agenda as well for 905.04.
I already put that on committee of the whole for Ms. Van Valkenburg to discuss at committee of the whole, next committee of the whole, but I'll let you do the other. Anyone else under new business?
Mr. President.
Mr. Stu?
So this evening, we actually have Mr. Tim Wordman here, the new Director of Public Service and Safety in the audience. So actually, Tim is the new Tom. We try to keep it simple. That was part of the selection committee's requirements. But there's a face with a name, so we look forward to having him seated here. And he will be here Monday, and I'd like to ask that they give him just a little breathing room before he gets bombarded, but thank you.
He gets an off day right away, 3 days in, and he gets an off day, so. All right. Anyone else wish to address, or is there anyone in the audience wishing to address council? If not, the next committee of the whole will be Thursday, July 11th at 7 p.m. This time I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. President,
Mr. Culbertson.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Culbertson, second by Ms. Hausfeld to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? So ordered. We are adjourned.